Hey guys, what's up? It's Mosty here from Pro Gamer Academy with a patch that just dropped today. This is 7.28, also known as the Mistwoods update, and Dota fans have been waiting on this one for some time now. Anyways, I thought it would be fun to do a really fast patch analysis for those of you who maybe don't play Dota, or for those of you who just want to not read all these pages of changes and you just want to play the game. We're going to be covering some of the bigger changes and kind of the more exciting ones. So with all that being said, let's get into it. Alright, so before we get into anything else, you guys obviously see this rat creature on the front page. This is the new hero, Hoodwink. A lot of people have been comparing this hero to Wind Ranger. They seem to have some similar skills and play kind of similarly. But I think the big thing to note that Hoodwink is actually an Agi hero, and once we see their abilities, I think you'll notice that Hoodwink might be able to put out a little more damage, or just be a little more annoying earlier on than Wind Ranger. I've already played a couple games with this hero in pubs, and I can tell you right now that the hero, like normal, is pretty overtuned. Valve did the old just buff the hero way too much, and it's just kind of crazy on release. And right now you can see the acorn shot ability. This basically can plant a tree down, and if there's no tree, then or if you target a hero, then it'll just go between, or it'll go between the units. And this acorn basically fires from unit to unit, as you can see, and it crits. So it's a really interesting ability, and what's even more is that if you do choose to target the ground and plant a tree, like you can see in that clip right there, it combos very well with your W, which is, it's called Bushwhack. A lot of people have been comparing it to Shackle Shot because, as you can see, it basically fires this little trap and it pulls people into the tree. And the really interesting thing about this one is that your vision is reduced to 0 once you're in that stun. So that seems like a very, very strong ability, and honestly, I would be really surprised if Valve didn't nerf it at all. Having 0 vision while you're stunned is, in a competitive sense, is kind of ridiculous. So it's just some very strong tools that this hero has already off the bat. Going on to the third ability, people have been comparing this one a little bit to Wind Run. Basically, Hoodwink passively has a chance to evade physical attacks when you're near the trees, which is why I was actually trying this hero a little bit as a position 4. You can trade very, very well with this hero as long as you're near the trees, because obviously that passive evade chance is just so strong. And then once you activate it, if you are near the trees, you get phased movement speed, and you get your tree walking, so you can just walk straight through the trees like Treant Protector. And you have 2 charges of this ability as well. It's something that they don't comment on the page. Moving on to the alt though, Sharpshooter. People, again, a lot of comparisons to Sniper on this one, but it does mechanically function a little different. Essentially how it works is you sit there and you charge up this ult, and you actually, it's not a point and click ability, you do have to kind of choose a direction. So it is a bit of a skill shot. It's kind of like Sniper's ult and Wind Ranger's power shot in one. But you're also, you know, you're physically, like, you're charging it up and you can let go at any moment. So anyway, like, my overall thoughts on this hero going into the meta is, like I said earlier, like, it's very overtuned right now, but I don't think that this hero plays very similarly to Wind Ranger or to Sniper. It does feel like its own thing, and honestly, I'm just excited to see new content in the game. I think that this hero will right now probably be played in just about every single role because of how good its numbers are, but once it gets nerfed a little bit, we'll probably see it maybe as like a position 2 or position 3. I kind of would be surprised to see it as a position 1, but I think it could work. Right now, basically anything can work, just because the numbers are so good. So that's all you gotta know for that. Alright, so moving on to the gameplay side of things, I'm sure you've noticed this already, I'm sure you've seen people talking about this. If you aren't a Dota player, then maybe never mind, but this new item, Aghanim Shard. This came completely out of left field, but all you need to know is that every single hero has one, except for the new hero. The new hero doesn't have an Ags either, Hoodwink. But essentially, it will either improve an ability that you have, or it will add a new ability. And some of these are more exciting than others, and we will go through kind of the most exciting ones. But this can be purchased at 20 minutes and it costs 1400 gold. Basically, it gets consumed just like an Aghanim Scepter. It's honestly a pretty exciting thing for the game. And there's a couple crazy ones. You can see it. They also added a part on the hood, just on the UI to show you basically if you have this Ag and if you have this Ag shard, just to make things a little bit easier to understand. But why don't we check out a couple of the cool ones? All right, so coming in very early on here are the changes that they've made to Alchemist. One of the most notable changes, and I will get to the Ag shard in a moment. I just want to point this out. Now, if an ally has a Scepter buff or the item, it will refund them based on the version that they have. So that means if you bought an Ag Scepter and you bought the consumption for it, then you'll get basically 6k gold back if Alchemist decides to give you an Aghanim Scepter. Before, it was like the worst thing in the world if you bought your own Ags while you have an Alch on your team, but sometimes you just need it. So, pretty cool there. And we can see a lot of his, like they changed a couple of his talents, like they made a couple of buffs, like this stuff, if you're gonna go into a game and play the hero and want to try out his Ag shard, it's not really gonna affect you that much. However, some of these changes, I believe, do make support Alch more viable, which is gonna get us down to the Ag shard ability. It's called Berserk Potion. Essentially what this does is it buffs up one of your allies, right? It gives them 50 attack speed and 40 HP regen for 10 seconds. It's got a pretty decent cast range, a 45-second cooldown, and it can be used on yourself. So this doesn't need to be used on an ally. Like an Ags or something like that, where you turn your teammate into a wolf. So essentially, what I'm thinking this is doing, along with this change to Acid Spray, the immediate, is this is making, actually the mana cost as well on Unstable Concoction, this is making support Alchemist more viable, which is something that we have seen in the past, where you focus on the minus armor, but this might make support Alchemist very strong, and honestly, it just makes Alchemist in general stronger, because gold is not an issue for Alch. So Alch is going to be, buying Aghanim Scepters for the team. One thing to note is that I don't believe you're able to buy Aghanim Shards for your team. So that might be something to keep in mind. At least I didn't see it here in the patch, and I haven't seen it in game. So, big change here. Moving down to the Bs, we got Bane. Bane, again, received a lot of changes, as you can see here. Nightmare and Enfeeble have been switched around again. Fiend Script has been changed to pure damage, and the damage has been adjusted like so. He's got better cast point, better damage on Brain Sap, better night vision actually, which is quite huge. And Enfeeble now reduces attack damage and regeneration, so it doesn't work like it used to, where it would make where it was a status resistance thing. But anyways, the big thing I want to talk about here is the Aghanim Shard ability. Fiend's Grip now creates an uncontrollable illusion that is also channeling Fiend's Grip onto the target. So, and if you interrupt it, it dies immediately. So, I'll show the video here so you can see what it looks like, but essentially it means that you have to cancel Fiend's Grip twice. Now, if you have a hero that is able to, purge Fiend's Grip on the target, that's probably like the best bet. Like, if you have Shadow Demon and you disrupt your hero, I'm sure they'll be fine. But here's what it looks like. So you can see there's the illusion, and then there's the Bane itself. There's two Fiend Scripts. Very cool change for support players. And we're still in the Bs, but this change really could not be ignored. Brewmaster got a lot of changes, and basically all of these I think make him a little bit more viable. I'm not so sure on the changes to Drunken Brawler yet, but we will see. We can see that got a cooldown increase, so it's a 30-second cooldown at level 1. But something to keep in mind, basically a lot of these are buffs to Primal Split, and the Bruising Health has been rescaled a little bit, but the biggest thing to keep in mind is that the Aghanim Scepter now for Brewmaster gives Primal Split 2 charges, and makes it so that it can be cancelled at any time. Your hero will form back on whichever Bruising you cancel it from, which is huge. The charge replenish time is equal to the normal cooldown. So this is like honestly a nutty change. Brewmaster might just be completely broken right now. We'll have to find out. But if we go down to his Aghanim Shard ability, we can see Primal Split now creates a Void Bruising, and this has Astral Pulse ability which will affect enemies in a 500 AoE. It applies a slow and a disarm for 2.5 seconds. This is kind of crazy. I think that we'll definitely see pros trying to use Brewmaster a little bit more, but I'll show the video so you guys can see it yourself. And that's the Void Panda there. Kind of odd stuff. Okay, this is going to be one of the heroes that people complain about the most, calling it now. Death Prophet. She got a base movement speed increase. And with that, they made it so Spirit Siphon no longer drains movement speed, and the charge replenish time got put down a little bit, at least in the earlier levels. Important. The ghost speed also got increased, her turn rate got increased, and then what they did was they took away the Exorcism grants haste, which I'm glad about because that was honestly a little bit nuts. They changed it to Spirit Siphon replenish time. So it seems like this hero really wants to play around Spirit Siphon now, right? And you're wondering why. Well, Death Prophet is going to love this Aghanim Shard. It's 1400 gold. It's a hero that has the ability to flash farm, so you don't really, like, you can get there. And now, this drains basically 0.75, but I mean, this is basically like 1 armor per second, and gives it to you. And it lasts for 14 seconds, so you can just drain armor from someone and be right-clicking them, and it gives it to you, which is absolutely nuts considering the fact that this ability has charges. So you could be draining armor from multiple people. I think that this is a nuts change, and we might see this get nerfed. It's definitely not unlikely. But yeah, if you want some free MOR, start picking Death Prophet. Moving forward, I wanted to cover some of the changes to Lifestealer. They reduced his base attack speed, they took away the attack speed on Feast, they did increase the percent a little bit, 0.4 at max level, and they replaced Open Wounds with Ghoul Frenzy, which basically gives you attack speed and it passively makes your attacks slow enemy move speed by up to 25%. Pretty dang good, but they do have to increase the mana costs on Rage and Infest to account for that, because obviously now you're not spending whatever it was, like 130 mana on Open Wounds. And now the Scepter rework allows you to infest enemy heroes for 4 seconds and attack them from inside. Enemy heroes gain no bonuses from infest, it doubles your self regen rate, and it increases the cast range to 500, and it puts it on a 25-second cooldown. Also for the Ag Shard ability, new ability, you can see that's new in quotations, they basically just give you Open Wounds back. And I do believe this, like, if LS gets this, I think this is definitely like a later game item if he does, but it should make him decently strong. I'm really curious to see how this hero will perform, given now like the only 2 buttons you have to press are Rage and Infest. So we'll see. Kind of like the new Wraith King of Dota. I guess he still has a alt to click, but pretty interesting stuff. Yeah, you guys are gonna hate this one. Basically, this is Meepo's Scepter rework. He also got a damage rate improvement. So now, instead of buying Aghanim Scepter and getting another Meepo, it gives you a new skill called Dig. And this works for your clones too. You channel for 0.75 seconds, and you dig into the ground for 3.5 seconds. It makes you invulnerable and untargetable, and it also dispels you, and then it restores a total of 25% of your max health over that duration. This cannot be casted while you're rooted, but it's only on a 40-second cooldown, and it's 150 mana cost, which for Meepo probably isn't that bad. And then what they've done is, for the Ag Shard ability, it's an upgrade to Ransack, which, if we remember, if we go back, this replaced the Geostrike. But now, it gives Ransack a 30% chance on hit to apply a Geostrike debuff, which would slow enemies by 20% and deal 20 DPS for 4 seconds. It doesn't sound like a lot, but the instances from different Meepos stack. So, if you have Geostrike along with Ransack, that's pretty scary, and you think of Meepo as a hero that does get gold. I feel like Meepos are just gonna like rush Blink in this or something. Like, this has to be an early buy, because I feel like this makes your hero so much stronger. I'm not a Meepo player, but you know, I played my fair amount of Meepo, and this potentially I think makes him really nuts. So this is one of the first changes, along with one other one that I think makes the game pretty scary for those of you who play against boosters often. Meepo's a hero that boosters really like to use, so we'll see. I want to scroll down real quick and look at Morana's. The Scepter rework, it causes Sacred Arrow to release a starfall on enemies along the travel path. So as the arrow is traveling, it only works for the primary arrow, so if you get the talent where you shoot 3 arrows, it won't work on all 3, which is fair. And then once you hit the unit, it drops a second starfall that deals 50% damage. So pretty cool change there. I think that's a little more fun than the previous one with you just use starfall and like it happens twice. But you can see they also, for her Aghanim Shard, they made it so leap, it grants another leap charge, and attacks during the leap buff have a basically a critical strike chance, which is actually pretty decent. This might be enough to make Mirana relevant. Like, I feel like you could buy this and just be dealing out a decent amount of damage early with like a Yasha or something, but we'll see. Alright, moving on to Tinker. Some of you guys are going to hate this, but now Tinker's Axe makes his laser into a shrink ray instead of before it made it so your laser would refract and basically go on to more people. It would also change your rockets to make more of them. Now it makes it so your laser is a shrink ray, causes it to have more cast range, and reduces the enemy model size and current health values by 20%, and it stacks. So this means if you get caught out in a lane where you're pushing and Tinker comes in, he can blink onto you, hex you, shrink ray you over and over again until you die, basically. And even in a team fight, it's really important because this laser also bounces once. So just reducing current health values by 20%, that's a huge number. This is going to be really obnoxious. And then again, he has this defense matrix ability, so what you can do is it's 1400 gold. It gives you this little shield which blocks the next 200 damage and provides 40% status resistance. This should make Tinker very obnoxious to kill. Like, if you ever get into the late game scenario where he has his Ag Shard, his Blink, and his BKB, that's all he needs, really. Obviously, along with his boots, because, you know, you can BKB, then you can't be stunned. Well, most stuns. There's a few BKB piercing stuns, and you can put the shield on yourself and just keep refreshing it. I think this makes Tinker super obnoxious. It's 100 mana cost, but, you know, he can also put it on an ally, so we'll see. I'll show you how it looks. This is the defense matrix ability, but this might piss a couple of you guys off. Alright, so there were a lot of other changes, but we are getting up there in terms of video time. I think we're up to like 20 minutes so far, but this is the last change I'm going to go over. Visage is going to be nuts. That's my prediction. He got a buff on his attack projectile time. He got a, actually I think this is a nerf, the base attack time on the summon familiars, which is fine, but they increased the damage for the familiars to compensate for it. This Scepter rework. So Visage was already a hero that bought Ag Scepter. He's a hero that likes to go mid. A lot of Smurfs and boosters use him because he's sort of hard to understand, I think, for new players. Now he has this ability with Ag, Silent as the Graves. It turns you and familiars invisible and gives you 20% movement speed. It also makes it so your movement type is flying, like Batrider, like you can fly over stuff. When you or your familiars exit invisibility, you deal 30% bonus damage for 4 seconds. This ability lasts 35 seconds and the cooldown is 45, which is like a lot of uptime for an ability like this. It reminds me of like Vendetta from Nyx Assassin. Once you get the movement with it, it's only 100 mana cost too, which Visage can certainly afford. So if that wasn't bad enough, you know, people are definitely going to buy this and stomp pubs. It's a big damage increase. He also has this Ag Shard, which he probably will buy. It's a minute-long cooldown, which is nice, but it basically makes it so you can use Gravekeeper's Cloak, and it gives it a button, and it makes it so it turns you into stone form, which restores up to 25% of your health, and I'm assuming makes it so you're untargetable and invulnerable, because that's what the stone form does for the birds. It is, you know, like I said, a minute-long cooldown and a 300 mana cost, but these changes are probably a little bit too much for Visage, given that he was already in like an okay spot. I think he still struggles, or at least isn't dominant in lane. But yeah, this hero might be absolutely nuts. So that's the last change I really wanted to go over. These were some of the more notable Scepter reworks and hero reworks. Thanks for sticking around this far if you did. And if you guys want us to make more Dota content in the future, let me know in the comments. Thanks for checking us out, and catch you on the next one.